So the asylum doors just flew open and the patients are taking over. My name's Tom McCullough. I'm here, your last line of defense, while Gary prepares to stream Ron Paul's Freedom Fest this Saturday. And guys, I've covered crazy stories, but this one takes the literal cake and redistributes it equally to everybody. A literal socialist who majored in African studies and never held a real job is crushing it in New York City mayoral polls. 81% odds on Polymarket. That's not a prediction. That's a communist fever dream coming true. Meanwhile, Bill Nye went full fascist on MSNBC, Dave Portnoy created the ultimate torture device, and Tim Scott got ambushed by cackling harpies on daytime TV. The left isn't just losing it, they've already lost it. Just go ahead and keep watching, guys. All right, so if you're getting close to retirement or just thinking ahead, you've probably done a solid job of saving. But here's something most people don't consider. How much of that money is just sitting in cash? It might feel safe, but holding too much cash guarantees one thing. You're losing purchasing power. Inflation eats away at it, and the dollar's value keeps slipping. That's why more people are looking at real assets like physical gold and silver to protect their savings. And one company that makes it easy? That's Noble Gold Investments. You can buy gold or silver, coins or bars, and have them shipped to your home or stored securely. It's a smart way to convert cash into something that actually holds value. Noble Gold is fair, they're transparent, and they don't pressure you. Just solid information and real options. So visit nextnewsgold.com. Go today. So nextnewsgold.com. When you own real assets, you have real wealth. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions, guys. So, Wall Street just exposed the socialist time bomb ticking in New York City. We're going to watch this brilliant breakdown of Zohran Mamdani. Yes, that's his real name. Represents millions of debt-crushed zombies voting for their own doom. This is what the end of capitalism looks like, guys. Check this out.
Kamala Harris is going to look like a conservative candidate pretty soon. A lot of people don't quite recognize and see how important the debt and the deficit is with respect to how it's ultimately going to lead to socialism, as it has every single time in history when you've had a free voting democracy. People call it left, but it's actually quite different than just being more traditionally left. It's really a revolution against the system that brought them to this moment. Because the promise that we gave in America, the American dream, was if you will go to college, you will graduate, you will have income, you will have stability, you will be able to buy a home. And what we did is we increased the government's role in making that dream possible. And in doing so, we created effectively a system where we gave unrestricted access to capital, which inflated the cost of education. People could go to school like Zohran and major in African studies and graduate with $200,000, $300,000 of debt and then never get a job. The guy has not had a real job. And this is the truth for 32 million young Americans. They find themselves living in places where they cannot afford to pay their bills every month, and they will never get out of the debt cycle that they were thrust into and believe that they were going to be able to graduate from and excel in the world and increase. They all have what is called negative capital. They have debt and they will never be able to get out of that cycle. So where do you turn in that moment? You don't go turn to corporations to solve your problems. You don't go turn to your friends and your siblings and your family. They're not going to bail you out. You turn to the voting booth.
That's 32 million young Americans drowning in debt, and their solution, it's vote for the guy who thinks breadlines are buffets, African studies degree, zero work history, maximum communism. That is your next New York City mayor, guys. Yeah. But wait, it gets better. Dave Portnoy invented a punishment worse than death itself. Fantasy football losers could now endure Kamala Harris's literary masterpiece. Watch Portnoy explain this Geneva Convention violation to a horrified morning show host. Check this out.
Your fantasy football league, you got an interesting punishment for losing. Watch this.
If you finish in last place in your fantasy football league this year, you will be locked in a room with no phone until you finish reading every single page of Kamala Harris's new book. And when you finish all 500 pages, you will be required to give the entire league a presentation. And if that presentation does not pass ChatGPT standards, you will then be required to listen to the audiobook for 24 hours straight.
You're the guy who, you'd make that happen, wouldn't you? You'd actually do that. But that, that's cruel and unusual punishment. You know that.
Some people say there's no punishment worse than death. I think this one is. Yeah, this is a bad punishment.
Where did you come up with it from? You hate the book?
It wasn't my idea. I can't steal that idea.
Oh, I would. There's no way I would do that. 500 pages of word salad, and if you fail the ChatGPT test, 24 hours of audiobook torture. Waterboarding is more humane. Even Portnoy admits that this crosses the line. So Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas herself, just endorsed Comrade Zohran's communist agenda as the Democrat message. And they're not hiding it anymore. Watch her praise his Soviet-style grocery experiments like they're not the reason people ate their pets in Venezuela. Check this out.
When someone stands up and says, I will lead this city by making it more affordable, and here are my plans, real plans, plans to deliver on childcare, plans to deliver on housing, plans to deliver, we're going to experiment, we're going to try things on groceries. That is the Democratic message.
These guys are nuts. We're going to experiment on groceries. You know who else experimented? Stalin, Mao, Pol Pot. Their experiments ended with millions dead and everyone else eating grass. But sure, Liz, let's try that again. And speaking of unhinged, Bill Nye, the fascist guy, just went full authoritarian on MSNBC. This is the same guy who taught kids about science, now wants to ban half the country from voting. Because science, apparently. Let's check this embarrassing meltdown. Check this out.
And look, you guys, everybody, I used to work in the oil industry. People forget I used to work in the oil patch in West Texas. And we just can't do it anymore. I mean, okay, so the sooner we stop doing it, the better. And of course, for us in the United States, right now we're having this very strong heat dome. It's very hot weather, which is going to affect agriculture, which will affect everybody's prices, the price of your food in the grocery store. And what we don't want is to have it be so far along, it's very, very difficult to reverse. So everybody pay attention and vote. And I'll just say that this idea that whatever the oil and gas industry tells people in the administration is true is probably wrong. And so just don't vote for him anymore. And when you get a chance, let's get him out of office.
He's starting to look like death himself. He's like Bill Clinton's crazy cousin. And he said, just don't vote for them anymore. Get them out of office. The science guy wants a one-party state. Remember when he taught photosynthesis instead of fascism? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Tim Scott decided to enter the lion's den, or should I say the Coven's cauldron, on The View. These shrieking banshees couldn't handle one black man speaking truth about American progress, and watched them lose their minds when confronted with facts. Go ahead and check this out.
You were the first black senator elected in the South since the Reconstruction. That would be about 114 years. Yet you say that your life disproves leftist lies. And
Yes.
my question to you is, I'm the exception, right? You're the exception. Maybe even Miss Whoopi Goldberg is the exception.
Oh, she's definitely the exception.
But we are not the rule.
No, and one of the reasons why I'm on the show is because of the comments that were made, frankly, on this show, that the only way for a young African-American kid to be successful in this country is to be the exception and not the rule. That is a dangerous, offensive, disgusting message to send to our young people today, that the only way to succeed is by being the exception. I will tell you that if my life is the exception, I can't imagine.
But it is.
But it's not, actually.
It's been 114 years.
Yeah, so the fact of the matter is we've had an African-American president, African-American vice president. We've had 2 African-Americans to be secretaries of the state. In my home city, the police chief is an African-American who's now running for mayor. The head of the highway patrol for South Carolina is an African-American.
Still
in
exceptions.
In 1975, there was about 15% employment in the African-American community. For the first time in the history of the country, it's under 5%.
40% homelessness.
And 50%
of African Americans,
50% of the folks in our community
get 13% of the population.
You had a chance to ask the question. I know that I've watched you on the show that you like people to be deferential and respectful, so I'm going to do the same thing.
That is true.
Don't forget, the Republican Party had the first African-American senators in it, and that was over 100 years ago. And they're telling him that he's the exception. They scream at the successful black senator because to liberals, black success is impossible without their permission. And Tim Scott breaks their narrative, so they broke down. You saw them losing their minds. But Scott doesn't stop. He drops truth bombs about black unemployment, home ownership, and education. And these harpies, they can't compute it. Their brains are just blowing up. The programming says America is racist, but the evidence, it says otherwise. System error, and they're like short-circuiting, guys. Check this out.
So here's what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to suggest the fact of the matter is that progress in America is palpable. It can be measured in generations. I look back at the fact that my grandfather, born in 1921 in Sally, South Carolina, when he was on a sidewalk, a white person was coming, he had to step off and not make eye contact. That man believed then, with some doubt now, in the goodness of America, because he believed that having faith in God, faith in himself, and faith in what the future could hold for his kids would unleash opportunities in ways that you cannot imagine. Every kid today can look, just change the stations and see how much progress has been made in this country. ABC, NBC, CBS, ESPN, CNN, Fox News all have African American and Hispanic hosts. So what I'm suggesting is that the yesterday's exception is today's rule. And for us to
so
suggest...
America has met its promise.
No, of course, the concept of America is that we are going to become a more perfect union. But in fact, the challenges that we face 50 years ago and 60 years ago should not be the same challenges that we face today. And here's the way that you measure that. When my mother was born, about 10% of African Americans got a high school degree, diploma. Today, it's over 90%. When you look at the income, success that we've had.
That's an HBCU stat.
Well, listen, HBCU stat is a good one, because one of the reasons why I took the funding for HBCUs to the highest level in the history of the country, and then I helped make it permanent, is because I believe that education is the closest thing to magic in America. So I'm about making sure that our kids have as many opportunities to succeed as possible. It's one of the reasons why.
I need an opportunity to succeed because I have to.
He's awesome. And you guys want to see the left's vision for America? Anti-ICE protesters laugh in a working mother's face as she begs to get her job. This is their utopia. You suffer while they virtue signal. And this is just pure evil caught on camera, guys. Look at this.
But for now, turning to this, we're getting brand new video out of New York City. Watch this. 2 anti-ICE protesters laugh in a woman's face. All this woman is trying to do is get to work. But they're blocking the road, and she can't get there. A window into the protest you've been seeing in a broad cam. Let's take you in on it.
But I have a kid. If I don't, and these people are having their children taken and their parents. What about my kids? I need to get a job.
Look at this.
That's what happens to my kids.
I can't help you. This is what
But you can if you could just move out the way.
We're not going to.
How is this a peaceful protest if there's nothing to do? No, it's not.
How do you as white people feel about stopping a black woman from going to work?
Oh no, not work. I care so much.
So you don't care about stopping black people from going to work?
Look at this line that you guys are causing. I'm not causing no problems. I'm not trying to. We're just trying to leave.
Harris, this woman is trying to get to work. She's a U.S. citizen, a hardworking mom. She talks about her child. She says, what about my child?
You guys see the look on that dude's face? Oh, no, work. Like those guys, that woman has a child to feed. Those protesters have trust fund to spend. She works, they whine. She builds, they block. And that's the Democrat Party in 2025, guys. And the coup de grace? Jesse Waters absolutely destroying the founder of White Dudes for Harris. You know, that soy-soaked specimen tries to spin Trump's landslide as close. Jesse doesn't just fact-check him. He performs a public execution. It's brutal and beautiful, guys. Check this out.
Are you still sticking with Harris?
Listen, I prefer that Kamala Harris for president right now, and honestly, I think a lot of Americans agree with me. Fox News' own polling has Donald Trump's approval rating cratering. He's negative 30% on the inflation. I think people are awfully frustrated with the leadership they're getting right now. Doesn't mean they like Democrats, but they're not happy with what they're getting.
Okay, so he just started off. You got to give the guy a shot. But you guys were so bad, he won in a landslide. Is anyone in the Democratic Party thinking maybe we could do things differently?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are doing the work of talking about how we build a new Democratic Party. Let's keep in mind Donald Trump didn't win in a landslide. He won by 185,000 votes in 3 swing states.
Well, he won every battleground. Are you saying that it was close? Are you saying it was close?
He won every battleground state, but the race itself was close. I think it would be a mistake for Republicans to assume that they have a landslide. Take a look at your own polling if you don't believe me.
Or do you think it would be a mistake for Democrats to think that it was close?
Well, I think Democrats should take a sobering look at what happened in the last election. We lost to Donald Trump again, which is embarrassing because I don't think he's qualified for the job, and I don't think he's doing a good job either. We've got to do a better job of winning people back, giving them a reason to care about us, giving them a reason to believe that we're going to fight for them, help lower grocery prices, help them buy a house and retire with dignity. We didn't do that. I think we got to be sobered about that. But you guys are running around acting like you wanted a landslide that you didn't when Donald Trump is unpopular and we're facing the worst job market we've seen since the last time.
No, I mean, a landslide is like Nixon. It's like Reagan. We've won bigger landslides. I would agree.
Barack Obama in
I would
2008,
absolutely
that was a
agree.
landslide
Well,
election.
Reagan and Nixon had better numbers than Barack, but we don't want to talk about the Messiah. I know Michelle's already talked badly enough about him.
Oh, boy. You guys were so bad, Trump won in a landslide. Jesse does not pull punches, and White Dudes for Harris guy admits they got destroyed, then pretends like it was competitive. Like losing every battleground state is a tie. That guy, he's going to have a sore shoulder from reaching that far to get some BS out there. So here's the pattern. Debt-crushed kids vote socialist. Woke celebrities demand fascism. Media celebrates communism. Working people get mocked. Success gets demonized. Failure gets subsidized. Up is down. Wrong is right. Men are women. Words are violence. Silence is violence. Everything is violence except actual violence, and that's mostly peaceful violence, only when Democrats do it. And this isn't politics anymore. It's mass psychosis. An entire generation raised on participation trophies and student loans now demand the government be their daddy. Zohran promises free everything. They believe him. History laughs and Venezuela weeps. The numbers don't lie. 81% chance New York City elects a communist, not a socialist, not a progressive, a literal communist. While China builds capitalism with communist characteristics, we're building communism with capitalist credit cards. So if you guys got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is coming up here. So this is what collapse looks like. It's not with jackboots and breadlines yet, but with sociology degrees and soy lattes, they vote for slavery because freedom requires effort. They choose chains because choices demand responsibility. They elect communists because capitalism expects competence. Zohran Mamdani leading New York City polls isn't an anomaly, it's an avalanche. Every blue city follows his path. Promise everything, deliver nothing, blame capitalism, repeat until Venezuela. San Francisco, Chicago, Portland, now New York. The dominoes fall while Democrats are applauding. But here's a beautiful irony, guys. These communists need capitalism to fund their fantasies. They're parasites who kill the host. When New York City falls, where will they run? Florida? Texas? Then vote the same way and wonder why paradise becomes a parking lot again. So it's question time. Is America witnessing the birth of a new communist revolution in our major cities? Yes or no? Sound the alarm in the comments, guys. Let us know what you think. But also, rock your anti-communist gear from our shop because better dead than red never goes out of style. Again, guys, this is Tom McCullough. We're all fighting the good fight. God bless.